On August 12, 2026, the moon is going to slide directly in front of the sun and switch off daylight across a strip of the northern hemisphere. For a little over 2 minutes, in the middle of the afternoon, the sky will go dark enough to see stars. Birds will stop singing, the air will get colder, and a ring of pale silver light, the outer atmosphere of the sun, will hang in the sky around a black disk where the sun used to be. This is the first total solar eclipse to cross mainland Europe since 1999. The path where the sun vanishes completely runs across eastern Greenland, western Iceland, and northern Spain. And along the way, it does something almost no eclipse ever does. Instead of racing west to east across the map, it arcs up and over the top of the planet, passing within about 250 kilometers of the North Pole, before curving back down towards Spain. For Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland, this is the first total solar eclipse since the year 1433. For Spain, it is the first in more than 100 years. Now you might already be deciding this one is not for you, because that path of totality runs through Europe, and you could be watching from somewhere else. Do not skip, because there is something for everyone on this day. If you're in the northeastern United States, eastern Canada, or Alaska, you will see a partial eclipse, with the moon taking a clear bite out of the sun. And no matter where you are on the planet, August 12th has far more in store. On this one day, 3 other major events line up in the sky, and you can catch them from almost anywhere on Earth. The best meteor shower of the year hits its peak, throwing up to 100 shooting stars an hour across a dark sky. It is also one of the best nights of the year to see the Milky Way Arch overhead, with nothing but your own eyes. And if you stay out until dawn, 6 planets stretch across the eastern sky at once, a full planetary parade. Any one of these alone would be worth staying up for. On August 12th, you get all of them, wrapped around a total eclipse of the sun. Let's break it down, starting with the eclipse itself. A total solar eclipse is not one single moment. It arrives in 5 stages, each with its own sites. And as we walk through them, I will drop in the time for each, given in universal time, the world clock astronomers use, with United States Eastern Time beside it. Everything starts with the first contact at 1534 UTC, or 11:34 in the morning Eastern Time. This is the moment the edge of the moon first touches the edge of the sun. Through your eclipse glasses, and you must be wearing certified eclipse glasses for this entire phase, you will see a tiny dark notch appear on one side of the sun, as if something has taken a small bite out of it. For the next hour or so, that bite grows, and this is where it gets interesting. Because for a long time, almost nothing seems to change, and then everything changes at once. At first, the daylight looks completely normal. Your eyes adjust so smoothly that you would swear the light is fine. But as the moon covers more of the sun, the light starts to go strange. It turns thin and sharp, like an overcast day with no clouds in it, and shadows grow crisp and hard-edged. Then look at the ground under a tree. The gaps between the leaves act like hundreds of tiny pinhole cameras, and instead of ordinary dappled light, the ground fills with hundreds of little crescents, each one a miniature image of the eclipsed sun. You can make the same effect with a kitchen colander, or just by crossing your fingers. As you get close to the next stage, the temperature drops, often by several degrees, because you are slowly having the sun switched off above you. Animals start to react. Birds go quiet and settle as if dusk has come. Crickets sometimes begin to call. Cows and horses have been seen turning back towards their barns. And in the final minute or two, if you look at a plain pale surface, you may catch shadow bands, faint rippling lines of light and shadow that flicker across the ground like sunlight on the bottom of a swimming pool. Second contact comes next, and worldwide, the total phase first begins at 1658 UTC, or 1258 in the afternoon Eastern. This is the most dramatic few seconds of the whole event. Right before the sun disappears, its light no longer comes from a smooth crescent. It comes through the valleys and craters along the edge of the moon, breaking into a string of brilliant points of light called Baily's beads, named after the astronomer Francis Baily, who explained them. The beads wink out one by one as the moon slides into place, until a single bead is left blazing beside the emerging ring of the sun's atmosphere. This is the diamond ring, one dazzling point of light set on a band of soft silver. When the last bead vanishes, totality begins, and only then, only inside the path, and only for these brief minutes, is it safe to take your eclipse glasses off and look with your own eyes. Totality is the heart of it, and the deepest point of the whole eclipse, called the greatest eclipse, falls at 1746 UTC, which is 1:46 in the afternoon Eastern. This is what people cross the world to stand under, and it does not last long. At the very best spot, out over the North Atlantic, it runs for 2 minutes and 18 seconds. On land, you get up to about 2 minutes in Iceland, and up to roughly a minute and a half in Spain, so every second counts. With the bright face of the sun completely hidden, its outer atmosphere comes into view, something you can never normally see. This is the corona, a crown of pearl white light streaming out from behind the black disk of the moon in delicate feathers and spikes. It is faint, silvery, and endlessly detailed. Look at the very edge of the black disk, and you may catch prominences, loops, and tongues of glowing pink and red gas rising off the surface of the sun, some of them larger than the Earth. Like the corona, solar prominences are only visible to the naked eye during a total solar eclipse. Now turn away from the sun and look out toward the horizon, in every direction. You are standing inside the moon's shadow, which is only a few hundred kilometers wide, and beyond its edge the daylight goes on, so the horizon glows with the colors of sunset all the way around you, a full 360 degrees. Above you, the sky turns deep twilight blue, and the brightest stars and planets appear in the middle of the afternoon. One thing to expect with this eclipse in particular: in Spain, the sun sits very low in the west, close to sunset, so it already feels like dusk when totality hits. In Iceland, the sun is higher, and the effect is more like sudden night dropped into the middle of the day. Either way, it is over in about 2 minutes, and it goes fast. Totality ends at third contact. Worldwide, the last place on Earth sees totality at 1834 UTC, or 2:34 in the afternoon Eastern. It happens in reverse. A point of light flares back on the opposite edge of the moon, a second diamond ring, then a second run of Baily's beads, and the glasses go straight back on. Do not look with the naked eye for a moment longer, because the returning sunlight is every bit as dangerous as before. At last comes the fourth contact. Fourth contact is the finish, and worldwide the eclipse leaves the planet entirely at 1957 UTC, which is 3:57 in the afternoon Eastern. After third contact, the whole sequence simply unwinds. The corona fades, the light climbs back, the crescents under the trees fill in, the birds start up again, and the air warms. Fourth contact is the final moment, when the trailing edge of the moon slips off the edge of the sun, and the disk is whole again, as if nothing had happened. Before we get to see who sees what, here's something to think about. An eclipse looks completely different depending on where you are standing, and it turns out the news works the same way. Most of us only see a narrow slice of reality, shaped by the outlets we follow and where we live. And with science news, it's trickier still, because headlines get exaggerated, or oversimplified to chase clicks. That's why I use Ground News, a platform that lets you compare how different outlets cover the same story, showing you political slant, headline framing, and even the stories you're missing entirely. For example, when the first images from the Vera C. Rubin Observatory were released, I wanted credible, unbiased coverage, and Ground News made it easy. That story was covered by 197 sources, and I could instantly see the bias distribution was almost perfectly even. Then check each outlet's factuality rating, verified by 3 independent media monitoring organizations. Fittingly, Ground News was founded by a former NASA engineer, so there's a strong foundation for trustworthy science coverage too. My favorite feature is the blind spot, which flags stories disproportionately covered by just one side of the spectrum, so you always know what your feed is leaving out. And if you only follow science, tech, or space, their interest pages cut the noise and show you only what matters. For viewers of this channel, there's a special offer: 40% off the Vantage plan. Scan the QR code on screen or head to ground.news/SOU. The link is in the description. It genuinely helps. It supports this channel. And now, back to the eclipse. To see any of that total phase, you have to be inside the narrow path where the moon completely covers the sun. That path begins at sunrise over Arctic Siberia, curves over the Arctic Ocean near the North Pole, and comes down across eastern Greenland. From there, the shadow crosses western Iceland. Reykjavik is in the path with about a minute of totality. The shadow then races across the Atlantic and makes its final landfall in northern and eastern Spain in the early evening. Bilbao, Zaragoza, Valencia, and the island of Mallorca all fall inside the path. Madrid and Barcelona sit right on the edge, missing totality by a hair, with about 99.9% of the sun covered. Even if you're nowhere near that path, a large part of the world still sees a partial eclipse, where the moon covers only a fraction of the sun, and the closer you are to the path, the bigger the bite. Across the United Kingdom and Ireland, there's a deep partial eclipse low in the evening sky, around 90% or more. London, Manchester, and Glasgow all see roughly 91%, Cardiff about 92%, Belfast around 93%, and Dublin close to 94%, all near 7 in the evening local time. Across the rest of Europe, Paris reaches about 92%, Lisbon about 94%, Brussels near 90%, and Berlin around 85%, most of it close to sunset. For North America, this is an afternoon event, and no part of the continent sees totality. In Canada, the Far East gets the most. St. John's in Newfoundland reaches about 53%, Halifax around 31%, and Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto see roughly 8 to 18% in the early afternoon Eastern Time. In the United States, the deepest coverage is in far northern Maine, up to about 28%, with Boston near 16%, Burlington around 17%, New York City close to 9%, Philadelphia about 7%, and Washington around 4%, all peaking near 1:50 in the afternoon Eastern Time on the East Coast. Alaska catches its own version in the morning, with Anchorage reaching about 28%. Wherever you are, if any part of the sun is still showing, keep the eclipse glasses on the whole time. And now the part for the rest of the world, because this new moon is not done after sunset. That same night, August 12th, into the morning of the 13th, the Perseid meteor shower reaches its peak, and this is the best meteor shower of the year. In most years, the moon washes it out. This year, the moon is new, the sky is black, and it is the darkest Perseid sky in years. Under those conditions, well away from city lights, you could see somewhere between 50 and 100 meteors an hour, fast, bright streaks flaring out from the northeast. The Perseids are known for fireballs too. Meteors bright enough to briefly light up the ground and leave a glowing trail hanging in the sky for a second or two after they pass. Each one is a grain of debris shed by Comet Swift-Tuttle, burning up as Earth plows through the trail it left behind. You need no telescope and no binoculars. Just find a dark spot, lie back, give your eyes about 20 minutes to adjust, and watch. And if you can, stay up past midnight into the last hours before dawn, because that is when the most meteors fall. That same darkness gives you the Milky Way. On a moonless August night, well away from city glow, the bright, crowded core of our own galaxy stands up across the southern sky as a soft band of light. That band is the combined glow of hundreds of billions of stars in the disk of our galaxy, seen edge-on from the inside, with dark lanes of dust cutting across it. This is one of the last new moon windows of the year to catch it clearly before it sinks low into the autumn twilight. Look south once the sky is fully dark, and if you aim a phone camera at it on a long exposure, you can pull out color and detail your eyes alone cannot reach. Then, in the hour before dawn on August 13th, look to the east. A line of planets stretches across the sky, following the same path the sun and moon trace. The flat plane of our own solar system seen edge-on. Highest and easiest to pick out is Saturn. Below it glows Mars, and lower still, Mercury and Jupiter cling to the horizon in the first light of sunrise. The two toughest of the group to catch, so you'll want a clear, flat view east with nothing blocking it. Uranus and Neptune hide in the same stretch for anyone with binoculars. 6 planets at once in a single sweep from high overhead down to the horizon. We are going to cover the meteors, the Milky Way, and the planet parade in full in a separate video. For now, the point is simply this. One new moon is about to hand us a total eclipse by day, the best meteor shower of the year by night, the Milky Way overhead, and a row of planets at dawn. Mark August 12th on your calendar. It's going to be one of the most remarkable days in the history of skygazing. So tell me in the comments where you're watching from and which one you're going after, totality, the partial, the Perseids. And if you've already stood under a total eclipse before, tell us what it was actually like. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Ground News for sponsoring this video. If you're tired of clickbait headlines and just want the real story, especially in science, scan this QR code or head to the link ground.news/SOU given in the description. You'll get 40% off the Vantage plan and finally see the news like you see the universe clearly.